Hello, my name is KJ Williams, and I am one of the co-founders of Rise With Us. So whether you're live or you are catching the replay, I want to thank you for being here. Today, we're talking about what happens when conflict meets leadership. That moment where your values, your humanity, and your patience all show up at one time. We're going to talk about how to handle tension without losing trust, trusting yourself, trust in your team. Because leadership, well, it isn't about avoiding difficult conversations. It's about learning how to stay steady while we're within them. And I call this work conflict without collapse. And it's based on three truths that every healthy team eventually has to face. So let's dive in. Truth number one, conflict isn't the enemy. Disconnection is. Most of us were taught that conflict is the problem, that if we were good leaders, everyone would just get along. But conflict is actually information. It's the moment when something or someone tells you that things are not aligned. What breaks teams isn't the disagreement, it's the disconnection. It's the silence, the avoidance, or the pretending that everything is okay while people are shutting down. When we disconnect, trust leaks out of the culture, drop by drop. So the goal isn't no conflict. The goal is to stay connected while we disagree. And that's where real leadership begins. Truth number two, regulation comes before resolution. This one is simple, but it's hard. You can't solve a conflict when you're still activated in it. When your body is in defense mode, your heart is racing, your jaw is tight, your head is pounding, your stomach may be churning. Your brain does not want to collaborate. It's fighting for survival. And that's why regulation matters. Before you fix the issue, you have to find your ground. And maybe that's one deep breath. Maybe that's saying, I need 5 minutes before we re-engage this dialogue. Or maybe I need an hour. But whatever it is, it's important to do that for yourself. Because the most emotionally intelligent leaders, they don't rush to resolution. They regulate first. Because being calm is contagious. And when you model regulation, your team knows that it's safe for them to stay in the room. So, truth number three, repair is more powerful than being right. Every leader gets it wrong sometimes. All of us, because we're human. We say too much, or we don't say enough, or our tone misses the mark. What matters isn't perfection, it's what you do after the rupture. And repair builds credibility because it communicates to your team that, hey, I'm human, I'm willing to make things right, I'm willing to take responsibility. And in organizations that thrive, repair is the culture, it's not the exception. Let me give you an example. We worked with two leaders where their communication had completely broken down over a project that they were working on, and disagreements all throughout the project that were never resolved. They finally got to a place in the project where communication was so broken down that they stopped actually communicating with one another, right? So the project stalled. We were able to come in and create and hold a space for them to share their experiences. And this was important because what we found out in this process was that they had gone to their teams and they had both had conversations with their teams, and their teams were mirroring the same behavior that their leaders were engaging in. So we sat down, we held space, we helped them navigate a process where each one of them could share the truth of what they were feeling, not just the decision that they wanted to make, but what they had experienced. And they both leaned into that space, and it was not easy. It was not easy. There were tears. One of them wanted to leave at some point. There were long periods of silence. And yet, because they stayed engaged in the process, they were able to come out on the other end with a commitment to repairing their relationship, to rebuilding their relationship, to doing the work necessary to facilitate repair and healing and rebuilding on their respective teams as well. And so, this is what we're talking about when we say conflict without collapse, because the goal isn't comfort. The goal isn't comfort. Oh my goodness. The goal is connection, right? Again, remember I just said, like, leaders are not perfect. I'm not perfect either. Stumbling over my words just a little bit, but that's okay. So what if I allowed that to make me stop everything, right? Because I'm uncomfortable. Well, this is a reality. Being uncomfortable is a part of being human. And so when we find ourselves in those places of uncomfortable conversations, that is the time for us to actually lean in, not avoid, not go silent. So how do we get back to the place of connection? Well, I have 3 steps for you. Pause, regulate, and re-engage. Okay? Because this is how we're going to stay centered when everything in us wants to react. When conflict sparks, most people skip the first 2 steps. They want to go right to resolution. They want to figure out how to fix it. They want to figure out, what do I need to do in order to problem solve? But wisdom actually lives in the pause. In that breath, you remember who you are and what matters most to you. You remember your values and what you stand for. So then we regulate, and only then do we regulate, because now we're grounded. And that might mean dropping your shoulders, taking a deep breath, going for a walk, communicating that you need 5 minutes or an hour before re-engaging with the conversation, or just simply recognizing, being clearly aware that, hey, I'm safe in this moment. That's when you re-engage from your values, not your triggers, because you can't lead from defensiveness, but you can lead from alignment. So if this conversation resonates with you, if you're thinking, my team needs this, well, we've opened 2 executive lab slots this month. They're 90 minutes, fully customized sessions for leaders, for leadership teams who want to handle conflict without burning out or breaking trust. In that lab, we don't just talk about conflict, we practice it. You'll leave with a shared team conflict protocol that your team can use immediately. So I'm talking about real strategies, concrete strategies, tangible strategies and models that you can utilize immediately. It's $7,500 for up to 10 leaders. It's virtual, and everything is tailored to your organization. So if that feels aligned to you, just click the link in the bio and you can schedule directly. This is the kind of work that actually changes organizations. But more than that, it changes how we as individuals show up for one another. And that changes our culture, and that builds community. So remember that conflict doesn't have to collapse the culture. It can clarify it. I want to thank you for being the kind of leader who's willing to do this work. And I want to thank you for being here and being willing to rise with us. I'll see you next time.